Well, the next premier of Newfoundland and Labrador will be announced today at a leadership convention that's being impacted by the pandemic. Premier Dwight Ball is stepping down. Two contenders are vying to replace him: physician and charity founder Andrew Furey and former civil servant John Abbott. Online and telephone voting began last week. The province's 14th premier will be announced today at a televised convention with limited in-person participants. And for more on this, I'm joined by political analyst Michael Geoghegan. He joins me now from Williams Lake, British Columbia. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so Newfoundland and Labrador's new premier will be announced today. Andrew Furey and John Abbott are both in the running. What do you make of these two candidates?
Well, it's going to be very interesting. It appears that most of the caucus and cabinet have lined up behind Furey. He's 45 years old, former physician, I believe the son of a senator. And then Abbott, I think he's 62 years old, former career civil servant, deputy minister. So depending on how much influence the caucus has, it would seem that Furey would have the advantage, but you never know in politics, so we'll be awaiting the results.
And economically, the province is not doing well right now. What challenges will the winner have ahead of them?
A very big one. Right now, Newfoundland's running a $2 billion deficit. Their debt is around $14 billion, and 30% of their GDP is dependent on the oil and gas sector. And of course, as is the case with Alberta, their economy has taken a huge hit with the dramatic decline in the oil and gas sector. So that is going to be a real challenge for whomever the next premier is.
Let's switch gears a little. A new Nanos research survey is showing that roughly 20% of Canadians have been adversely affected by the Canada-U.S. border closure, even though most people haven't been affected. Does this mean that the federal government is going to be under more pressure to ease those restrictions at the border?
I don't really think so, because, when Canadians see just how bad things are south of the border, I would say that you probably have at least 80% of Canadians who are like, hell no, keep the border closed, even though there is an economic impact, because, of course, they recognize that if we start seeing the kind of infection rates that they're getting in the States, that of course, that's going to be economically disastrous for us as well. So I think right now Canadians are very pleased that the border remains closed, at least the strong majority of them.
And another Nanos poll is showing more than half of Canadians don't want an election during the pandemic. The Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois are calling on the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister to resign after the whole controversy with the We Charity. Do you think Yves-François Blanchet potentially is tabling a motion of non-confidence in the fall might change that?
Well, he can table the motion, but as long as the NDP support the Liberals, they'll have enough combined seats for the Liberal minority government to hang on to power. So although it increases the pressure on both the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, it's not going to necessarily make the government fall unless the NDP chooses to participate in supporting a motion of non-confidence.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. From Williams Lake, British Columbia, that's Michael Geoghegan. Thanks again, Michael.